Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. Now, would you believe it was only last week that we were trying to keep the temperatures down from 38 degrees in here. All the windows, doors were open. I was dousing it down with a hose pipe. And now, well, it's absolutely thrown it down. I've got my partition back up. All the vents are closed. All the windows, doors are closed. I've got my winter coat back on again. And well, those are the breaks if you live in the UK. The problem is here, once it starts raining, it doesn't tend to stop for a long time, all to do with that jet stream. So anyway, it's all about begonias today, and it's quite a new genera that I've been getting into. And you might have seen a video, I think it's 8 videos back now, when I showed you my 5 new tropical plant purchases, and some of those were begonias. So I'll stick a link up to that video. But today we're going to look at 5 new ones that I've purchased and have a very brief chat about begonias and why I'm finding them such an interesting family of plants to get into. So let's jump in. Okay, so we're in. Right, so here's my box. I've just scraped the address off it so that I don't have hundreds of, well, maybe thousands even, of rabid fans on my doorstep. So here's the box. So this is from Dibley's. I've kind of got into begonias quite recently, well, very recently really. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to unbox this little packet of begonias, which cost me a whopping, let me have a look, £26.80, which I don't think so bad for 5 plants. So let's open it up and have a look at what's inside. Ah, the magic of YouTube. Already potted up. Fantastic. Well, so what I'm going to do, I'll move them out of the way, and then I'll show you one at a time, and I'll just have a little chat about what I've got here, and I'll tell you why they're already potted up. Right, okay, so first of all, these 5 plants arrived while I was at work. I came home at lunchtime and I was handed the box. Now, at that time of the day, I've just not got time to go and film a video. So what I did was I took them out of the box, because obviously they'd been overnight in a dark place, and I thought, well, you know, why not just, you know, you've all seen unboxings before, why not just pot them up at a later time, and then they'll be looking in a slightly better state by the time that, you know, the night's passed and they've had a chance to kind of unfurl, as it were. They're looking a lot better, I must say, than they were yesterday, even though they're very young plants. Didn't cost much. So this one is Silver Lace. There's the label for it. And this one cost a whopping £3.50. I think that's pretty good, don't you? I'm certainly no expert at this. I'm brand new to it. It's only 8 videos ago that I thought of actually buying some. If you're like me, then, especially in the UK anyway, our only exposure to begonias is through a couple of types, if you like. I'm trying to think of the right word really, because they are kind of loosely grouped. The whole Begoniaceae family has over 1,800 species in it, and there are a dazzling array, much like orchids really. There's a huge array of cultivars and crosses and species, and certainly the way they are grown and what they come from in terms of whether they are a rhizome or fibrous rooted or a tuber or a shrubby plant or a tall stem plant. There's a huge number of different types of groups. Now, I got most of my information from about 2 or 3 sources. The only one I can remember actually at this point is the American Begonian Society. They've come up with their own kind of loose groups as well. It's nothing to do with the science, it's just their kind of own grouping on the various similarities and differences. Even they were first to admit that some types of begonias don't really fit into any of those categories. So you can say, you know, that if you think you know begonias, the chances are that you really don't, and I certainly didn't. I was aware of 2 types of begonias. and one of them is called semperflorens, which is your typical kind of bedding plant begonia. In the UK, we treat those as annuals. In my mind, they were boring because, and they're probably not really, but that's because that's what I'm used to growing up with. And the whole point of having a tropical greenhouse in the UK is that it's out of the ordinary. It's not what you're used to seeing. And as a gardener, going out into gardens every day, seeing a bedding scheme of begonias does not gladden my heart. It's not something that, it's not unusual, it's not out of the ordinary. I'm used to seeing it. I want something a little bit different. So that's probably my most common exposure to begonias. The other one is the tuberous begonias, and I've even got a couple of videos on tuberous begonias. I think it's lumped in with dahlias as well. Tuberous begonias are the kind of the big blousy flowers that you're used to seeing, generally grown in pots, and because they require a winter rest, a dormancy period, people grow them in pots and then they lift them and dry them out over winter and store them. I think one of my videos was showing you that. So begonias all of them come from tropical and subtropical regions, and they are not all the semperflorens or the tuberous types of begonias. So let's start with this one. This one says, bright position without full sun. So that's something that you'll find is common to all begonias. There are no full-on sun type begonias. This is what makes them great house plants, really. The fact that they all tend to grow at normal room temperature, and they all tend to like a bright position but not in the sun. They seem to be fairly easy. Again, that idea of whether it's easy or not very much depends on what your climate is and what conditions you're offering your plant. But for me, I have those natural conditions that they like. When I don't have those natural conditions over the winter, then I've created it anyway, so they should be fairly easy for me. So this one's called Silver Lace, and it's from the Rex group of begonias, and they are rhizomatous, so they have a rhizome. So if you're into orchids, you know all about rhizomes. They don't look like rhizomes, or they certainly, when this has come to me in like a little, I don't even know what you call it, but it's one of those little plugs that growers plant the plants in, and the roots can go out the side, so you just plant the whole thing, you don't have to take it out. This is why I was keen to get it in a pot, because it would have dried out pretty quickly otherwise, and I didn't want to destroy the roots. The other begonias I got, by the way, last week have already taken off, you know, just within a couple of weeks. I can't even remember, was it a week? I know it's 8 videos ago. I don't even count days anymore, I count in terms of how many videos ago it was. The Rex Begonia group are rhizomatous, and they all come from an Indian begonia, Begonia Rex, and they were crossed with various other begonias, and they're basically grown, they do flower, but they're basically grown for the leaves. And again, a dazzling array of different types of leaves. Now this is only a young plant, so you don't get the full effect of this, but as it gets older, then these leaves are supposedly quite reflective. Don't look reflective at the moment, but like I say, they've been in a box overnight, and they are not looking their best at this particular moment. I'm thinking lots of the begonias that I'm going to be getting are from the Rex group. If you look on the Dibley's website in the UK, they have an awful lot of Rex type begonias, and lots of them are actually sold out at the moment. But there's certainly a lot on there that I wouldn't mind. I think it's very often underestimated what part foliage plays in a planting scheme or a tropical greenhouse. If you're after some kind of jungly effect, it can't all be blooms. The thing for me anyway with orchids is the leaves are all pretty similar, and it's nice to have something different amongst all those orchid leaves. I'm just kind of looking around now, and this is why I like the Trodoscantia as well, the Wandering Dew, because it's completely different, and it gives you, if you've got a plant where the foliage is interesting, then you're getting, to my mind anyway, you get a lot more bang for your buck than a plant with just a few little flowers at the top. You know, it's the whole thing, not just the bit at the top. Don't get me wrong, love flowers, love blooms. But yeah, so this is a Rex one, and this is grown for its foliage, and I have several other Rex varieties as well. So I'll leave it there, but we'll just have a look at another one. So this one is called Silver Jewel, and unfortunately, in potting them up, I've got to compost on the leaves, and because they're so hairy it's difficult to get off, so I'm just going to have to wait for nature to take its course there and for it to drop off. I'm sure it will. I don't want to. You can see how they've been squashed up, these leaves, where they've been boxed. But like I say, they will very quickly get going again. I've not even watered them yet, I've only just potted them up. So yeah, this one is called Silver Jewel. Again, bright position, normal room temperature. It doesn't like low humidity levels. It definitely won't get that today. I mean, my hydrofogger is on, but the humidity is 80%, and that's without the hydrofogger actually doing anything. The hydrofogger is on, but it's not kicking in. Water moderately, use a general feed every week during active growth. So all I've used here is like a multi-purpose compost. It's a Johnny Ennis number 2, and I've put some perlite in it as well, as recommended by the American Begonia Society. I keep wanting to say American Orchid Society, the American Begonia Society. The other begonias that I've got, the Gryphon begonia, really easy to look after, and that is looking absolutely superb at the moment. So yeah, this Silver Jewel is another of the Rex group, which is a small rhizome. It must be very small because I can't see it. Again, it's a young plant, so I guess we're not really getting the full effect of that yet. So let's move on. I'll show you a different type now. So this one, the leaves of this one look very similar to what I'm used to begonia leaves looking like. This one is called Fuchsioides. Fuchsioides meaning red, I guess. Similar to a fuchsia. It's in a perennial, bright position without full sun, water moderately, feed fortnightly during the growing season. Now this one will, oh by the way, where are we? Silver Lace. That one will grow to 35 centimetres. That one will grow to 20 centimetres. This one, which at the moment I have to say is very uninspiring to me, but when you look at what it ends up like, it looks much nicer. This one will grow to 1.50 metre, 150 centimetres tall, which is quite tall. This is one of the cane group. So some of them grow structures that look like bamboo canes apparently, and this one will be, it's grown for its flowers. Really nice red flowers, look a bit like a fuchsia, and it's very floriferous, easy for me to say. So that's why I got that one. That one is a cane type of begonia. Make sure they're all nice and equally set out, just to satisfy my perfectionist trait. So okay, where are we now? So next one, this one is Listada. You do actually get an image of the blooms there. Again, not grown for the blooms really, grown for the leaves, but it did say on Listada that the white flowers have red hairs on them. So this is also a cane begonia. Doesn't look like it at the moment, and then you can see two of the leaves partially destroyed in the transport, but once they get going I'll cut those off. Interesting thing, they are really easy to propagate. All begonias are very easy to propagate. You can generally tell with the type of soft kind of sappy stem that they have. Anything that has a stem like that is usually pretty easy to propagate. You can propagate from, well, pretty much anything. When I was looking at this morning, you can propagate from like a stem cutting, but you can also propagate from leaves, partial bits of leaves, heel cuttings where you like pull the leaf off at the stem. There's all sorts of ways. Just get yourself onto American Begonia Society website and they'll show you all the different ways, and I'm sure I'll do videos about them at some point once we get going. So yeah, that one is Listada. That one grows to 30 centimetres. Okay, and my last one, which is my pièce de résistance. Ta-da! So this one is called Luxurians, and again this is a cane group. Now this one can grow up to 2.5 metres. Well, there's no way I'm going to let it go to 2.5 metres in this greenhouse, but it has, once it grows up, it really kind of droops down these leaves, and the stems are bright red, like a really bright red from the pictures that I've seen. but you can easily, as you can with all the begonias, to keep it within certain confines, you can pinch out the growing tips, which that'll be fine. So, and I have got a couple of spots that I think I can cope with a plant of that size. I think it would be nice to have a couple of big specimens in here as well. It's like a garden, isn't it? If you fill a small garden with small specimens, it just doesn't quite fit together as a design. Get some big plants in there, and for some reason it makes a smaller space look bigger. So yeah, this is Luxurians, bright red stems, 250 centimeters tall, or it will do eventually. I'm sure it won't do that in the next couple of weeks. So let's just talk about the different ones. So I've actually only got two types here from two of the groups. I've got the cane type, cane, and I've got Rex, two of the Rex ones there. The Gryphon that I've got is, I think that's the cane, and I've got a couple of the others which I can't even remember what they're called. Oh, the Curly Fire Flush, and what was the other one? Sea Urchin. They are Rex, I think. So what have we got? Well, American Begonia Society talks about the upright stemmed, or the cane group, the rhizomatous. Now it separates rhizomatous from Rex, even though Rex also have a rhizome. There's the tuberous one that we've talked about, the big blousy begonias that you tend to see at begonia shows. Shrub-like, which I've not seen yet. The semperflorans, that's the boring bedding plant one, that in my opinion. Trailing ones, I remember having trailing ones years ago, great for hanging baskets. And I think they're also scented, if memory serves. And then there's one called a thick-stemmed one, which I've never seen a thick-stemmed one. Again, I think it said they were quite rare. As far as begonias go, I think I've got quite a good selection here, quite a good variety. Again, if anybody's into begonias and you're looking at my collection as a starter collection and thinking, well, you know what, he really should have got whatever it is, X, Y, Z. Put it in the comments. I would love to see if there's any that you think would go really nice in my tropical greenhouse, and I'll get onto it because these are so cheap. Just looking at the prices here. So here's my price list. The dearest one was the Luxurians, but you know, that's not so bad, that is it? £3.50 for a plug plant that's going to grow away pretty quickly, especially when you look at the prices of some orchids. You know, you're talking upwards of £50 for some of them. £26.80. I think that's a pretty good deal. I know some of them are a bit bashed about, but you know, you're going to get that if you're getting plants in the post. What you really need to do is be able to go and pick them, but unfortunately I don't live near enough, and I doubt they're open anyway during this kind of lockdown phase, although I think things are beginning to open up, so there's some light at the end of the tunnel. So just before I go, if you've not seen my other video on my 5 new tropical plants, which I did, as I say, 8 videos ago, I'll put a card up there now. Head over to there and you can have a look at the other begonias. And don't forget, if you have seen any others that you think definitely have to get, for whether it's for blooms or whether it's for foliage, but I would say if it's a semperflorans, I'm not interested, and if it's a tuberous one, I'm not interested. It's the other sort. And something else that I forgot to mention, that as far as resting these, I don't need to rest any of these that I've got here. It's only really the tuberous ones that I would have needed to have a dormant period. All these that I've got here, these will stay as they are, carry on growing, carry on blooming all through the year. Of course, they'll have a kind of a quiet period during the winter when it's dark and when it's cold and down to 12 degrees, but they'll carry on, they'll be fine. So that's definitely something for me anyway. I'm probably going to use my greenhouse more during the winter. That's when I've got more time, and you know, that's part of the attraction really, the fact that it's cold and miserable and wet, as it is today actually, in the middle of the beginning of July. But it's cold and miserable and wet during the winter. This is where I'm going to find myself for a lot of the time, and it's great to have that little kind of haven or escape, tropical escape in here, even though it's costing me money. You know, the way I look at it, some people pay thousands for golf club memberships every year, or go out drinking every weekend, or smoke, or whatever it is they do. I buy plants and look after plants. So yeah, that's it for now. If you've not seen that video, head over to there, and for now I will see you on the next one. Bye.